the Everything But Politics podcast.
Episode 139 is live. Joining us is CEO and founder of EnergyX, Teague Egan. Teague, welcome to the show, brother.
What up, boys?
What's going
on?
Thanks for having me.
It's good to be with you, man. I know this has been in the making for quite some time, so to be doing it's exciting. Teague, I want to start off by asking you this. What is the difference between precision and accuracy?
Precision and accuracy. I think that accuracy has to do with accuracy is more conceptual. I think about accuracy in the sense of I really want contracts or factual things to be accurate. Precision, I feel like, is more a measurement in terms of like, I think a lot about precision when we're building real things um, we're dealing with a lot of equipment and things like that. And, you know, uh, really small precision measurements are important. That's how I think about the difference between precision and accuracy.
So when you look at it that way, at EnergyX, which is more important, being accurate or being precise?
They're both important. I don't think, they both apply to different things. I think that when you're writing contracts, the devil's in the details in both things, right? And being accurate is incredibly important. But then also when we're building like our plants and things like that, being precise and having the correct measurements, if something's even a little bit off, like you don't want to be in an airplane that wasn't built precisely, you know?
Agreed. So the reason I bring that up, I was asked that question in middle school by high school, excuse me, by Mr. O'Neill, and the question's always stuck with me. And given what you do, I figured it was an accurate opening point. So when I think of what you do, extracting lithium, I feel that you have to be more so precise, because I would think that if you're in a certain area, you could be accurate, you know, it's in that area. But in terms of physically extracting lithium from a given spot, that's precision. Do you think, is that accurate? That's funny. Right.
Exactly. Accurate.
Yeah.
I think that when you boil it down, I'm dealing with chemistry, right? We're dealing with elements on the periodic table, lithium being the main one that we're after. And some of the materials that we have developed to extract lithium, obviously I'm dealing in kind of like nanometers, stuff that's much thinner than human hair. The precision is incredibly important.
That's
So,
crazy.
So
yeah.
to dumb it down for our listeners, what exactly is EnergyX, and how does one even extract lithium?
So that's the $1 million question.
Yeah, right.
Maybe a billion.
Maybe the $1 billion
Yeah.
question. But so EnergyX is an energy technology company, and our mission is to become a leader in the energy transition. So I feel like we're in this this macro global shift right now from old conventional energy sources to kind of a newer sustainable economy where we not only generate energy from renewable sources like wind and solar and hopefully soon nuclear and hydro, but then that power needs to be stored for a lot of applications like cars, right?
Yeah.
And cars that are powered by batteries. So lithium is a major component of batteries, of rechargeable batteries. And because our society is not only shifting towards renewable sources, but also, and a big part of that being EVs, batteries have, of course, become a lot more important. I think that electric vehicles were really like the primary driver of batteries, but now you're starting to see a lot more applications for batteries, be it grid scale storage, um, backup storage for commercial, either buildings or utilities or residential houses. Um, Even if as we move into like the future with AI, like big data centers
Yep.
have backup batteries and things like that. Um, Robotics and things like humanoids are all powered and will all be
Yep.
powered by batteries. So lithium is a key component, and um, these are all lithium ion batteries. And the reason that lithium was chosen as the main material in the battery is because it has some of the most energy density. So that's a calculation between how much something weighs versus how much energy it stores. Um, you can't have something that weighs a shitload because then, like, if your car battery weighed,
Yeah,
you know,
it'd be too full.
10,000 pounds, then
Hmm.
it wouldn't have enough stored energy to be able to move that weight, right? So, lithium is one of the lightest metals on the periodic table that has the best energy density ratio. So that's why it was chosen to build batteries in the first place. And now that battery,
How do you extract it and where do you find lithium?
yeah, so there's two main resource types. There's hard rock and then there's brine. And the hard rock is what you would probably traditionally think of as like an open pit mining um,
Hmm.
scenario, digging up like,
Yeah,
you've seen those mines and it looks like layers like down into like a big hole.
totally.
There are certain pegmatites and ores that have lithium in them, and that's one way that lithium is sourced. What we focus on is brine, and brine is just a fancy word for really salty water. Um, the Great Salt Lake in Utah has decent lithium concentrations. Uh, the best place in the world is in a place called the Lithium Triangle
Yep.
in South America that is these high desert salt flats in the Andean mountain range. And there's really high lithium concentrations in the brine there. The problem is that lithium's not the only salt. It's in salt form in brine
Mm.
that's dissolved into the water.
Yeah.
It's alongside like sodium, sodium chloride being table salt, magnesium, potassium. And what we invented is a streamlined, efficient way to extract just that lithium out of brine.
Now, do you guys have to talk with the property owners? How do you work out a deal that you could just go to the Salt Lakes, the lake, and take the lithium?
Yeah, so um
But
the
it's government contracting, correct?
well the rights, it's a very well established structure.
Okay.
You can you like people own the mining rights, and we went and purchased mining rights where we want to go explore and then hopefully find and then
So is a
um
lot of it
buy.
city-owned properties
You said city
or
owned?
state?
Country.
So not really.
No.
At this point, like, well, at least in Chile, and really a lot of heavily mined areas, be it for lithium or gold or copper or any like
Hmm.
important metal or material, the mining rights have been claimed and have been bought and sold,
Got it.
you know,
Throughout the
throughout
years.
the century, yeah, throughout the years. So, um, but there's certain kind of stipulations with the state or the country. Like for instance, in Chile, you have a set amount of time that you can have exploration permits, and then you need to convert them into exploitation permits, and the price increases, right? You need to pay like a kind of like a lease on it, but it's not like that expires as long as you're paying the fees. And
Okay.
then you are just trying to kind of hold that. That's an expensive proposition. we came in and found a willing seller, and we bought down in Chile. We have over 100,000 acres of mining resources. And then up in the United States, right now we have nearly 15,000 acres
Wow.
of mining rights in Texas.
Nice. Tegan, you've always considered yourself to be a serial entrepreneur. So tell us about the trip to Bolivia, the inception of EnergyX. Like what did you notice was missing in the marketplace and for you being an American in the Lithium Triangle?
Yeah, I mean, so I've definitely always considered myself to be a serial entrepreneur. And it's more about like being a problem solver, figuring out where there's a gap in the market or like kind of trying to have long-term vision, I think. This is obviously a big problem that I'm trying to solve here. Um, it took a decent amount of foresight to say, yes, I believe in the energy transition. Yes, I believe in the electric vehicle revolution. Like back when I started the company in 2018, Tesla was really the only kind of electric vehicle for sale by any means.
Hmm.
And they'd been doing it for a while. They had started to pick up a lot of momentum. Um, but that built-in demand wasn't yet there. It was a bet by me saying electric vehicles are here today and they're going to go, up to here. And because of that, the demand is going to increase. So I kind of bet on this supply demand imbalance, saying that there's going to be a lot more demand of this critical battery material than there is supply. That was why I decided to start the company. So the trip to Bolivia um, was my aha moment. That was my big realization. And it's kind of ironic because that trip happened in 2018. Um, I had been driving a Tesla for 5 years, since 2013, and was a big believer in electric vehicles, but had never really thought about the opportunity that lithium presented until I took this trip to Bolivia and found myself in the world's largest lithium reserve, which is the biggest salt flat in the world. Um, and I was asking our tour guide all these questions about it and stuff like that. And he started explaining how the country of Bolivia wasn't producing any lithium from the biggest lithium reserve in the world. And that was a pretty big realization that like, this is a problem I feel like I can solve. Why are they not producing any lithium from this place? So that's kind of the origin story of EnergyX.
So where does your passion for energy come from? Growing up, were you big into chemistry? Did you love chemistry class?
I actually got an A+ in 11th grade and
Yeah.
11th chemistry, yeah, but it's not like I decided to pursue biology or chemistry in college or anything like that. I always had a passion for business, but
Hmm.
it is kind of ironic that like that was one of the classes that I excelled in
It just came easy to you.
during high school,
Yeah.
My grandfather was a brilliant engineer who worked for DuPont for like many, many decades. And but I didn't, beyond that 11th grade chemistry class, I didn't have any like formal education in energy or chemistry or anything like that. I would have to say that, buying my Tesla and starting to follow Elon Musk in 2013 created my passion for it. He
Hmm.
just he just made it cool, like energy's not really a cool thing. It's like it's kind of a conceptual thing, like your lights turn on, and it's like you don't really think
Well,
about
perfect example
how.
too is my grandma called me today all upset because her TVs have been out all day. Xfinity problem. You don't realize how much energy we use until it's not working.
Yeah, you don't think about the energy or like the what I call the underbelly of the world. Like, why is my TV not working? Like that, that could be a million different problems, but like, how is my TV even made? Is
Yeah,
Yeah.
is
dude,
a funny
it
thing
is
to.
crazy. So How often do you find yourself in the Lithium Triangle? And while there, what does your role consist of?
So now, pretty often, I'm headed down to Chile once a month, maybe
Oh,
once
wow.
every other month. So like, but sometime between 6 and 12 times a year. And I'll go for like a week a month. Um, we're building a really big project in Chile, and we have an awesome team in Chile. We have about 35 full-time employees and about um, like 60 to 100 contractors at any time. We've built a big camp out in the middle of the desert that fits about 65 people. Actually, more now. I think like 85 people. And we're drilling wells to get the lithium brine. So that we
Mm.
drill wells, we pump up the brine, and then we ship it to our pilot plant and validate the technology that we've been developing for 7 years to efficiently and cost effectively extract the lithium. Getting all that data, all that information, putting it together, and then we'll look to build a commercial plant that will produce 50,000 tons of lithium. And
Wow.
lithium right now is trading at about 10 to 12,000 a ton. A few years ago, it was up at $80,000 a ton. Um, but the Chinese have kind of compressed the price a little bit. A lot of people think a little bit of price manipulation there. Long-term price projections are about $20,000 a ton. So, that plant will do $1 billion in revenue per year. So I got to be down there to spend a lot of time focusing on that.
How do you get there?
Um, you fly from Austin. I fly either through Miami or through Houston down to Santiago. It's like a 10 or 11 hour flight and plus from Austin. So call it like a 14, 15 hour.
Now from there, are you spending time in Argentina and Bolivia as well, or primarily in Chile?
Well, I used to be spending a lot of time in Bolivia. We had our first pilot plant in Bolivia, and we ran that for 6 months consecutively, 24/7. Had people sleeping out in the solar, like in the
Mm.
salt flat. And I've been to Bolivia, I don't know, 15 times, but that was between 2018 and 2022. And then when we acquired this property in Chile in 2023, that's been my main focus. I still go to Argentina a bit. There's a lot of potential opportunity there, and we're in some discussions, but Chile is where we own the resource, and as of now, there's no reason to go back to Bolivia.
And EnergyX is a private company. Any plans to ever go public?
So yeah, it is a private company. I get asked that all the time, and um, I'm not, I have hopes that we'll go public.
Yeah.
I believe that that is in our future roadmap. I'm not allowed to like put any time, like
Yeah.
I don't have the crystal ball, right? The one thing that I do like to say is um, we won't go, or at least I wouldn't want to go public until we are commercially producing lithium, which our target is 2027 for that. Um, once we're producing commercial lithium and generating revenue, like from the plant that I told you about, and we're building a second plant in the US, and this equates to hundreds of millions or potentially billions of dollars in revenue, that would be a more optimal time to go public than, right now while we're still in development, and it's kind of more of a speculative
Totally.
investment.
There's still more growth to do. So, Teague, previously you've said you wanted to be president as well as live to 150 years. A lot of people may laugh at that, but I don't. Neither does Evan. You gotta think big to achieve the extraordinary. What did you learn from your father about thinking big?
You did your research, brother.
Mm.
Um, my dad always told me to never put a glass ceiling over my head. And, I think that that is some of the most valuable advice that anybody could give or receive. Um, there are people out there that are doing the things like anybody can accomplish anything that they truly set their mind to. Whether it's being the president of the United States, like there's been 47
7.
presidents now, like
Mhm.
not to say that that's not hard to do, right? Like, but it takes years and years and thousands, tens of thousands of hours working on something like that and planning it and putting the pieces in place to be able to realize a dream like that. Living to 150, obviously nobody has accomplished that yet, or at least kind of like scientifically verified. I think there are people that have claimed to live past that, but that's more my belief in humanity and the progress of humanity that we've seen over the past 100 years, where the average lifespan 100 or 120 years ago, like back, the average lifespan in 1900 was 49 years old. Fast forward to 2020, the average lifespan, I think, just crossed 80 years old.
Agree. I'm
So
with you. You could definitely lift to hundreds by the time we're in our 50s, 60s. There's no
Not 100,
reason.
150.
it's
Yeah.
it's increased it's
Sky's the
increased
limit.
30 years in the past 100 or and 20 years. And that's the average, right? So if we even just stay linear on that, the average will be 110. And then you
Mhm.
have to imagine, what the outliers are if you're
Yeah.
healthy and physically fit and things like that. So that's more of a belief in just like the the speed of innovation and the ingenuity of humanity as a whole.
Totally. And so we have a third brother, Ethan. And so there's three of us. And a quote we've been reciting for the last couple years now is those who say they can and those who say they can't are both correct.
100%, dude.
Yes.
100%.
Yes. So
Uh,
another thing that I want to get into here. So I'm 25. Evan's soon to be 24. I feel at this age, we're at a crossroads, right? The next couple of years, even now, I feel my peers in my mid to late 20s, everyone's kind of moving in different directions personally and professionally, whether that be in their jobs, in their relationships, whatever, entrepreneurship, whatever. Can you speak on the first time you noticed this and what you did to ascend confidently into your 30s?
I think that I think that the quote that you just gave about whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right, also applies to if you believe you're at a crossroads. If you believe
Mm,
you're at a crossroads, you're at a crossroad. If you don't believe you're at a crossroad, you're not at a crossroad. And I think that I've always had really high expectations for myself and aspirations. I wouldn't be doing the things that I'm doing if I didn't, and I wouldn't believe that I can do the things that I believe, like become president or live to 150, if I didn't have that. You guys are already doing it above probably the vast majority of your friends, especially from Indiana, right? Like just the mere fact that you guys are on, episode what 138, did you say?
9. This would be 139.
139. Like, dude, that takes persistence, discipline, all the characteristics um that are like worthwhile in becoming successful. And so few people have that quality. This experience in doing this podcast, whether it lasts till a few hundred more, however long you go, is
mhm.
going to translate into the other things. And, you know, I think that uh, that crossroads, it's like self-selection, right? Like the fact that you guys are talking to me, or the fact that you guys are, going to do a podcast with Tarek, like you're already surrounding yourselves with um, quality entrepreneurs and people that have high expectations of themselves. And it's like self-selection. Like that'll just continue if you guys continue to stay committed.
Well, and Teague, I like kind of your energy and mindset too, which is like we only have this one life. And yes, it might be hard to do challenging things, but you might as well live it to your full potential and do the things you want to do. I mean, I feel like there aren't the like you said with the you can and can't. The only person stopping yourself is you.
100%, 100%. I think, yeah, you can do anything you set your mind to. It just takes consistency, persistence, consistency, discipline, determination. Um, when I started EnergyX, it was just me with an idea.
Totally.
Like it's just a seed in my head. And now, we have over 100 employees. We raised over $130 million. Like we're building huge lithium plants, like all from a seed in my head, right? And the early days, like today my schedule is packed every day from, 8 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. Like the early days, I was just sitting there on my couch by myself, like, who can I email to like talk about this idea? I was like, it was like pulling hair. Like I was actively, cold emailing 20 people a day, trying to find the right path to go down. And that's not an easy thing. But it's that hard work in the early days that allow you to, it's all about building upon it, right? Like, you guys remember your first episode, like what that was like?
Yeah.
I think we did the first 12 with no guests, and we were just talking NFL,
Whatever.
Game of Thrones. Yeah, we were like looking up current events to talk about.
Exactly. Like, the reason that I took this podcast is because you guys are at 138. You guys can't even imagine how many podcast requests I get, right? Like,
Totally.
and the fact that you guys are, into the hundreds, like that's a small percentage, right?
Totally. Yeah, no, it's one of those things. It's
Appreciate it.
like it's also like another quote. It's like you can just do things. You could do whatever. Like
Whatever
starting
you
an
want to
energy
do.
company, podcast, business. You could write whatever the fuck. You can just do things. So you're speaking of people that have just done things. Your hero, Elon Musk. What is the greatest thing that you've learned about Elon Musk that sticks with you daily, especially during the tough times?
Oh man, dude, that is a long list. He I think he's changed the global mindset. Like one of the most overlooked things, he's changed the global mindset of entrepreneurship. Um, I think so many more people today just think that they can go do whatever it is they want to do. And going back to the quote, like, if you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right. Like, he's done so many things that people thought were impossible that now we're almost in this like new era of innovation. And, he essentially single-handedly started the electric vehicle revolution. There's people at other auto companies that will say, oh, well, we had like the, EV whatever back in the 1990s.
Mhm.
But like, they discontinued that, right? Like he single-handedly did it. And the only reason that all these other car companies are doing it is because they see him as the richest man in the world now. And
Yeah,
his
we got to
company is
copy him.
more valuable than all the other car companies combined. And then he goes out and lands rockets, something that nobody even thought of doing. And then, um, I have my Tesla and it's self-driving. And it's so ironic that people have made fun of him for 10 years now. There's literally memes of him saying in 2015, oh, I think full self-driving is like 2 years away. 2016, oh, I think it's a year away. Every year he says it's like
We're close.
a year away.
Hmm.
And people are making fun of him because now we're sitting here in 2025. But like my car actually just drives itself. I get in and it is 100% legit full self-driving. full stop. And it kind of snuck up on us a little bit, but it's here, right? And whether that was like non-intentional or strategic to kind of motivate his people to like work harder, press harder. Here's another quote for you that I think comes from Elon. He says, if you give yourself 4 weeks to clean your room or 4 hours to clean your room, you'll get it done within that time
Yeah.
frame. And uh, the person who cleans their room in 4 hours obviously is going to get a shitload more done um, than if you give yourself 4 weeks. So applying that same concept to solving really hard problems, like building full self-driving, he put the pressure on saying, forcing his team to be the best that they could year after year, probably month after month, week after week, and develop something that a lot of people thought was impossible. And it's truly remarkable to watch him build these companies. Um, and they're, at this point, it's just compounding, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
one of my favorite things to look at is the pictures of his Raptor engine from the first version, which literally looks like a like a confetti of different wires, to the second version, which has a lot less, to the third that's like basically just like clean and streamlined with like
I know
no.
exactly what you're talking about.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Like
Yeah.
that type of progress that then has enabled him to build these rockets that then the iterations have allowed him to self-land. And now how he translated that into Starlink, like Starlink would never have been possible without all of that work into building rocket ships before. And we use Starlink at our mine that's, 4 hours in the middle of nowhere, or else we would have no internet. And,
Amazing.
I was just in Easter Island, which is like a little island off the coast of Chile where they have those big stone heads.
Yes. Saw that.
Everybody on the island uses Starlink. Literally 3 years ago, it cost, I think it was like $20 per megabyte of data. And now they just have Starlink and can watch like they didn't have Netflix 3 years ago. Island. Like
What do you do?
now they have full streaming, right? It's like
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's probably and definitely alive right now, but perhaps ever the most moving mankind forward of any human that's ever lived, which is a crazy thing to say, but like that's probably true.
It is. It is. I certainly believe it. I think in my Wall Street Journal article, I compare like there's Jobs, there's
Mhm.
Edison, there's, you can go back to,
Tesla.
yeah, Tesla, Da Vinci. Um, there's some major inventions in the course of humanity, like inventing light bulbs and like,
Mhm.
The wheel.
yeah, yeah. I don't know who
Cool.
invented the wheel, but that was a good one. That was a good one. But he's, it's always exponential and it's hard to compare different eras, but like there's no doubt in my mind that that dude takes us to Mars, like, which is,
Agreed.
I mean, I don't know how you can, yeah, it's just
Well, it's anyone who
big.
says they don't have enough time in a day, you look at people like Elon Musk and you're like, you just tell those people to shut the fuck up. It's like, okay. Yeah. I mean, like you see people that do so many things and you can never tell yourself you don't have time. Whatever you make time for is what you make time for.
Yep.
So, Teague, at this point, you've been entrepreneurial, excuse me, your entire life. 2018 was the inception of EnergyX. So you've been a CEO for 7 years. What's your greatest strength as a CEO, and where can you improve?
I've been a CEO a lot longer than that.
Okay.
I've always been the CEO of companies since started my first companies in high school that failed, and then in college that succeeded, and now this. Um, I think I've learned a lot with this one. This is any company in the past doesn't even compare to this. Uh, but I think that a few of my greatest strengths are one, building a great team. Um, I mean, EnergyX is literally a world-class team as it relates to lithium.
Mm.
And I have some of the top lithium scientists, like PhDs in chemical engineering, like minds in the world. People that have built some of the biggest lithium plants in the world. And I'm really, really proud of my team. Um, I think that my vision is pretty good. It's you know, any entrepreneur that is trying to solve a really big problem, like my vision is, not only 5, 10, but 20 years out in this case in EnergyX. And, my vision in terms of like my life goals are even further out. Like there's not a lot of people that think that far out. Um, so, I don't know where that came from. I think I learned a lot from my father about this, about vision, but I think that that's really high up there. I think that I pick up on concepts really quickly. I have to be learning on the job to make the best informed decision. Um, Areas that I can improve, uh, there's definitely a lot. I think that the politics of business are something that I don't really like, but I'm learning to have to maneuver. Um, there's always a lot of like as a business grows, there's always a lot of stakeholders,
Mm.
and whether that's investors or employees or government entities or the communities with which we're working, like navigating those politics. Like I'm a pretty upfront, like brash type person. Like I kind of shoot it straight, and that's sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. And it sucks when it's for worse. So,
Mm.
I think about that as a potential area of improvement. Um, Something that I've done the past like 6 years now is my New Year's resolution. My New Year's is always themed. So, like back in 2019, that was my year of patience, and
Mm.
I felt like I was a pretty impatient person. So I really tried to work on that and focus on that in 2019. And that's made me a more patient person, ever since. Um,
What year are you in right now?
of that, oh,
If,
this
if
is the
2019 was patience, what's
yeah, yeah.
2025?
This is the year of competence.
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 I like that. Gary Vee has a good book about the 12 emotions of business.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah, he talks about all these different emotions that you have to use as a business owner. Like sometimes you got to be compassionate, sometimes you got to be confident. All these different emotions that us human beings has is pretty cool. And he gives like examples from his life.
That
Interesting.
now does competence for you, does that equate to simplicity?
No, what it means to me is like uh if somebody asks me a question about my business, I should know the answer to like a very deep level. Um, and if I don't, then I'm not really competent on
Mm.
that
The
issue.
topic. Mm.
And then I need to go learn that thing about the business. Not that I need to know like, the like there is super, super deep chemistry that goes on, but I need to understand the problems with fine granularity in order to fix them. Uh, as the CEO, your job as a CEO is basically all the biggest problems just bubble up to you, and your job every day is just to solve the most important problems.
Hmm.
So if you aren't extremely competent on what's going on in every facet of the business, then how are you supposed to solve the biggest problems that are inevitably going to arise in the course of the business?
It's very powerful. I like that. Every year, a new word to live by. Which word has been the most impactful?
So I think that in the early days, like patience was one. Uh, Sacrifice was a really good one. Like, I moved to Puerto Rico from LA, and I just had to get away from that LA scene. And that was a pretty big sacrifice. Like, I didn't know anybody there. I had a roommate that I grew up with who actually went to elementary school with me as well, and Tarek. And
Small world.
I
Gosh.
know, so it was me and him, and I sacrificed a lot being out there. Like, didn't have friends, didn't like I was just like I just need to like put blinders on and focus on EnergyX and try to hit my goals and milestones to grow the company, like funding and operationally. And then COVID hit, and that delayed things a lot. And one of the following years, I think 2021, was persistence. So it went patience in 2019, sacrifice in 2020, um, and then persistence in 2021. And those are all really powerful characteristics. We've actually talked a lot about persistence, um, sacrifice. Not a lot of people can sacrifice. Like, a lot of
Hmm.
people that
They
it's
give
that,
in.
like, yeah, like, go out on Friday and Saturday night, like it's the lust, or like
Having
they're
that
not grinding.
chocolate cake.
Yeah, they're not grinding 7 days
Yeah.
a week, 12 hours, 14 hours a day. Like,
Yeah.
rather go out and spend my paycheck on, like, six-pack of beers, right?
It is what
Well,
it
Which,
is.
that's their choice, right?
Yeah.
But
what another thing I like about you, Teague, is you spend your money on experiences, which I think is very important. And the best learning experience is traveling, which you've done quite a bit of.
yeah, I mean, um, I I'm fortunate to be able to afford, like, expensive things if I wanted them, but I don't wear like I wear like an Apple Watch, or like
Hmm.
have like designer shit like that. Like, I drive a Tesla. Like, I could drive like a Ferrari if I wanted to, but like,
There's
rather
what
rather you know.
one vision.
But yeah, experiences like traveling the world. I've traveled to 79 countries. I've been to all 7 continents. Like,
That's awesome.
I ran the Boston Marathon. Like, I just hiked Mount Kilimanjaro. I've been to 6 out of the 7 world wonders. That shit to me, like, or skydiving, just
That's what life's
doing shit
about.
like that. Dude, that's what it's all about.
Who
Like,
gives a
that's
shit
what it
about some designer? I got nothing on mine and
Yeah.
go.
exactly.
Yeah. Well,
And,
Teague,
and ironically, that's where the company was born out of, like a random trip, to like
Those are where
a
those
pretty
experiences come
obscure,
from.
a pretty obscure country in Bolivia. Like,
Hmm.
you
Love
know,
it.
well, Teague, what's been so special as this show has evolved? It's become a show that highlights the lives of those who have lived and done the extraordinary. So it's been a pleasure to welcome you, learn more about your life, EnergyX, and the future. It's always a pleasure as well to speak to those that think in decades. So kudos to you. Kudos to everything you've built and will continue to build. And we look forward to doing this again in the future. Thank you, brother.
Merrick, Evan, thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man.